Welcome to the Dick Allan Show. I'm your host, Rick. I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet about white supremacy and Donald Trump being racist and all this stuff. Man, I don't know what to think. I've been wanting to start a program or idea called Racist and Biased News. And basically, everyone gets on the show, you light your little candle, or you say, hey, I'm a racist, I'm biased, and then you say what you need to say. And the idea is that it can disarm the audience and allow you to speak freely, granted, speak appropriately and professionally. I kind of think we're all racist and biased. We all come from different backgrounds. We see the world different ways. Our parents taught us a certain ideology. We either break from it or keep it. And we have our stereotypes. And so we all have differences, issues, concerns, problems, wrong ideas, right ideas. And it's just the way it is. With that being said, we'll start off with white supremacy, whites being privileged. And probably for a fraction of the country, that's probably true. That 3%, you probably got white privilege, and some of us may be held accountable for that. I'm redhead, blue eyes, of course, losing hair. I represent 1% of the population, being a ginger, and we demand our own bathrooms. I'm just kidding. In high school, I lived 4 years in a garage. 2x4 walls, washer, dryer, water heater, Southern California. In the wintertime, I had electric blankets to keep me warm. I don't consider that white supremacy by any means. When I went to college, I never had a scholarship. I never had a government handout until I turned 35 and joined the Army. They gave me tuition assistance. I finished my bachelor's degree. At the end of the tax year, I got a tax return. I never had a tax return before in my life until I joined the Army. Before then, it was like, hey, you need to pay another $15,000. I'm like, what? I was just constantly nickel and dime. Now, does that have anything to do with race? No, but depending on how you spin the story, you can spin it however you want to. Is there opportunity or less problems for white people from my stereotype and belief? Yes. So, when I was doing foreclosures, I hired a roommate of mine in college. He's a big black guy. He's like 6'2". His name's Chevy. Once a week, I'd get a phone call from Chevy saying, hey, get over to my job quick. I got helicopters circling the house. I have never had helicopter treatment. I've broken in for foreclosures, banks, and when neighbors see some stranger walk into a house, they're snooping, they're looking, who is that guy? Some would talk to me. But I never got the helicopter treatment, and Chevy did. Is it because he's black? Probably so. So neighbors probably called up, hey, there's a black guy breaking into a house. Boo, helicopters. By the time I get there, he's on the ground. They got his shirt lifted up, making sure, And I had him there pumping a pool. He had keys to the house because, that's what we did, foreclosures. We locked him up. We changed the locks. We broke into houses and secured them for the banks. That's what we did. But because he was black and going into a vacant house, the neighbors got concerned, called in. Even if he was in a black community and he was breaking into a house, they're like, hey, they might stereotype against themselves. It goes both ways. Now, am I a racist? I hope not. But as black people wanted to do foreclosures with me, I was like, no, I don't want to hire black people because do I want to put them through that type of drama? Having Chevy there was enough. Once a week, hey, come to this job site. I had my own job sites to go to, trying to do 20, 30 job sites a day, work orders a day to pull myself off a job and go help Chevy. He'd be in the back of a squad car waiting for me, and I get there and be like, no, he's a, foreclosure specialist. It was a hassle. And Chevy was a good guy. The stereotype out there for breaking into houses isn't good. But at the same time, I don't expect to go to a Mexican restaurant and say, hire me. When I go to a Mexican restaurant, I expect to see Mexicans working there, and I appreciate that culture, and I love it. If I go to Chicken and Waffles, I expect to be served by black people. I go there because that is what I want to see and experience, that atmosphere. If I apply for a job there, I wouldn't, because I know that's not, I'd be breaking that cultural bound. You go to a Chinese restaurant, I want to see Chinese people there. For some reason, I feel like the quality of the food is better. It may not be, but I feel like it adds to the atmosphere, the ethnic, the culture, and experience of eating there. So when I go to a restaurant and it's white people working there, I'm like, oh, man, this place isn't going to be as good. And typically, it's not. they don't put the cheese on right, that, you know, whatever it is. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with cliques and groups, you know, birds of a feather flock together. I'm okay with that because you got to be where you feel comfortable. And to make people, oh, you need diversity in this group, people need to quit forcing it, is what I think. Let people be comfortable. At the same time, you should be able to walk down the street and say, hey, Merry Christmas. And the other guy says, hey, Happy Hanukkah. I'm like, bam, I know where you stand. I can give him a handshake, give him a hug, and I know where he stands. Season's greetings, I don't know where anybody stands. Like, does he, you know, what do I get him for Christmas? I don't know. What does he believe? I don't know. If you tell me what you believe, I respect that. But season's greetings is, I don't know. I think it's total BS. I know I'm doing a lot of twists and turns. White supremacy, I'm sure it's out there. I don't necessarily see it where I'm at. That's my little tips and turns and advice about our culture and white supremacy and racism and biased news. We all have it. Quit denying it. Oh, you're a racist. I already said I am. You know, disarm them and let's move on. And we could talk professionally about it. Oh, reverse discrimination, this, that. That's life. It's life. I don't expect to go, you know, into a rap studio and be like, oh, you got the moves. There are very few white people that can break into that industry. I get it. The Eminems of the world. I'm not going to make it. I was a DJ in college. I worked at a club, did private gigs. I could mix really well, but I didn't know what was trending, whatever. So again, Chevy, he would tell me what was hot. He'd be like, hey, this is the new jam. This is what's hot. And I would play it. I have some deficits. You could be like, oh, play this song. And I'd be like, my mind would just go blank. I'd be like, sing it to me. Oh yeah, it's right here. Like, I could do it from audio, but I couldn't do it through the title. But that was just my deficit. The stereotype right now for white people is you're almost afraid to speak because we're at risk of being called racist. Someone that's not white can speak more freely. If I say something, I'm more likely to be called racist and biased. And there is a movement out there where, I mean, I'll see it on Facebook. People post things, hey, the only race you can discriminate against right now is white people. And to some extent, that might be true. I mean, you got the gay movement and this transgender movement and all this stuff. And it's amazing what a fraction of the population can get through. It just blows my mind. You know, for a fraction of a percent, these guys need bathrooms. And a small percentage, these guys want this and that. What is right? What is equal rights? You know, we all have equal rights, but life is not fair. It just isn't. It's never going to be fair. I haven't really got into politics because I'm not pleased with any political candidate at the moment. I really like Ben Carson. Of course, yesterday, a guy at lunch, he's a black guy, he said he talks slow. He's like, oh man, he talks slow. And I was like, man, I thought Ben Carson, you know, if you don't know who he is, he was the black presidential candidate on the Republican side. But he came from nothing, became a doctor. He's pretty smart, conservative, good morals, good guy, probably too nice of a guy to be president, but he was a good, honorable man, and that's what I liked about him. And then as you moved up to popularity in the political arena, you know, Donald Trump's a bit of a loose cannon for me. He's unpredictable. He'd probably end up being like a dictator. He's been running his business for a long time. When you have your own business, you're the dictator of that. He's very blunt. People appreciate the bluntness right now because political correctness is not working. You can be honest and say what you mean, and people will respect that, and I think that's why he's being successful. Hillary Clinton, I don't know. I think we need some new blood in there. Pushing aside my political beliefs, I don't know. I just think she's kind of evil, not the right choice for our country. And the Bushes and the Clintons have been in there a long time. I'd say get some new blood in there, and Trump does provide that, but there's something about me that is concerned about him. What I really believe is the right person for America would be unelectable. I don't want to call it reform. I want to call it, we need to get back to basics. We need to make things less complicated, get back to basics, simplify people's lives. We have so many laws and so many things. I think we need to get back to basics, get back to core values, and then we can move forward again. You know, we live in a republic, and we are taught it's a democracy and that the majority vote wins. And that's not true. It's a republic. And just because the majority wants something, it's still bound by the Constitution. And you just can't vote in whatever you want for the majority or the minority, and the Constitution should be held. Anyway, my opinion is the Constitution's being shredded. I disagree with blaming candidates and presidents for past transgressions per se, because many things were 30, 50 years in the making. And we're like, oh, while you were president, this happened. While you were president, there are so many factors 100 years ago, like immigration. Man, this has been like a 30 to 60 year problem that wasn't addressed. And now we have our problem, and now with it. And it should have been addressed a long time ago. And so I think a quick fix is not the answer. I think maybe doing like a 5-year or 10-year program saying every year we're going to tighten the belt on it. Maybe the first step is, hey, no more anchor babies. You come to the United States and have a baby, sorry, it's a citizen of that country. And so you eliminate that aspect of it. And then the next year you're saying, hey, for those that are here, go pay your $5,000. Let's get you documented. Let's get you cleared. Let's get you into the system and get you brought over. You're already here. If you want to build a wall the third year, you know. But I think there's a progression of stages that should take place, just to be humane about it, because I think just a chopping block answer might not be nice to people. Or we just buy Mexico. That would be my thing. I'm like, Mexico, if you can't handle your people, then we will. We'll start with Baja. We'll buy it. We'll clean out as much. I mean, there's always going to be corruption, but we'll clean out the big corruption. We'll start putting in better infrastructure. We'll make it safe for businesses to build resorts. And you know what? Half those guys are just here to work, have a job, and provide for their families. Hey, you're part of North America? That's another thing I find funny, is Mexicans are always like, in the ones I've talked to, porque hablo español, you know, a lot of them always are ripping on the United States. And I was like, man, you guys need to change your whole tactic. When you come to the United States or America, you're part of North America. Why don't you just call yourself an American? And half the United States population would be like, you'd be like, hey, I'm an American too. Canada's America, but we're kind of taught in our schools that they're not, or they're not good enough, or that's Mexico, we live in America. We stereotyped America as the United States, and that's a falsehood that we're taught in the school system. But if they would come here and say, I'm an American too, we'd be like, but no, they're like, you know, running around with their flags and doing stuff. You know, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. You got to please the people. If they came here and say, hey, I'm here because I need your help, I want opportunity, man, we'd probably embrace the guy. Hey, come on over, give you a hug. And we're always up to helping people out. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody. My intention is not to offend or be like, single anybody out, but I want to talk openly about it, and you can be like, I respect that, or hey, I disagree with that, or with all disrespect, you're a racist. You know, whatever you want to say, that's fine. It's where I came from. It's how I see things. Bye.